What if the next stamp on your passport came with a warning instead of a welcome? In 2025, something unusual is happening. American tourists, once symbols of international curiosity and spending power, are quietly being turned away from countries they used to explore freely. But this isn't just about visa rules or airport hassles. Beneath the surface lies a growing global distrust, deepening political rifts, and unresolved diplomatic tensions that are forcing nations to draw hard lines. And for some, that means saying no thanks to U.S. travelers. And no, this list isn't just the usual suspects you hear in every other video. We're uncovering countries you probably didn't expect, places that once embraced American visitors, but are now tightening their borders, sometimes with dangerous consequences. So why is this happening now? What triggered this sudden shift in how the world views American tourists? Is it policy, power plays, or something more personal? In this video, we're diving deep into the real reasons behind these travel bans and advisories, backed by official government data, global news sources, and diplomatic warnings. From wrongful detentions to collapsing security systems, you'll discover what's pushing these countries to the edge and why 2025 may be the most complicated year yet for American travelers. Stay with us till the end, because some of these nations will surprise you, and the last one might even shock you. Country 1. Venezuela. Imagine planning a trip to a country known for its stunning landscapes and rich culture, only to find yourself facing the harsh reality of arbitrary detention and political unrest. That's the situation for American travelers considering Venezuela in 2025. The U.S. Department of State has issued a Level 4 Do Not Travel advisory, citing extreme risks including wrongful detention, torture, terrorism, kidnapping, arbitrary law enforcement, escalating crime, civil unrest, and unreliable health care. Since the closure of the U.S. Embassy in Caracas in March 2019, American citizens have had limited consular support. This lack of diplomatic presence makes it challenging for travelers to receive assistance in emergencies. Moreover, Venezuela holds the highest rate of wrongful detention of U.S. nationals in the world, with many individuals detained under accusations of being mercenaries. The U.S. government strongly advises Americans to depart Venezuela immediately and avoid travel to the country due to these severe risks. Country 2. North Korea. North Korea remains one of the most isolated and secretive countries in the world, and for American travelers, it's a destination fraught with peril. The U.S. Department of State has issued a Level 4 Do Not Travel advisory, citing the serious risk of arrest, long-term detention, and the threat of wrongful detention of U.S. nationals. Traveling to North Korea is highly restricted, and U.S. passports cannot be used to travel to, in, or through the country unless specially validated by the Secretary of State. Special validations are granted only in very limited circumstances, making it nearly impossible for most Americans to visit. The risk of arbitrary detention and lack of diplomatic support make North Korea a no-go zone for American tourists. Country 3. Iran. Iran, with its rich cultural heritage and historical sites, might seem like an enticing destination. However, for American travelers, the U.S. Department of State has issued a Level 4 Do Not Travel advisory due to the risk of terrorism, civil unrest, kidnapping, arbitrary arrest of U.S. citizens, and wrongful detention. The political climate in Iran remains tense, and the risk of arbitrary detention is significant. U.S. citizens have been detained under various charges, and the lack of diplomatic relations between the two countries complicates efforts to provide consular assistance. Traveling to Iran poses serious risks, and Americans are strongly advised to avoid non-essential visits. Country 4. Cuba. Cuba, with its vibrant culture and historical significance, has long been a point of interest for American travelers. However, the U.S. Department of State has issued a Level 2 Exercise Increased Caution advisory, citing crime and unreliable electrical power as concerns. While tourism is generally prohibited, Americans can travel under certain categories, such as family visits or educational activities. However, these regulations are subject to change, and travelers should stay informed about the latest policies. The complex relationship between the U.S. and Cuba means that travel advisories can shift, and it's essential to be aware of the current status before planning a trip. Country 5. Russia. Russia, once a popular destination for American travelers, has become increasingly difficult to visit. The U.S. Department of State has issued a Level 4 Do Not Travel advisory, citing the risk of wrongful detention, arbitrary enforcement of local laws, and the potential for terrorism. The ongoing conflict in Ukraine has led to heightened tensions between the U.S. and Russia, and Americans may face harassment or detention by Russian security officials. The U.S. Embassy has limited ability to assist U.S. citizens in Russia, further complicating travel plans. Given the current situation, Russia is considered a high-risk destination for American tourists. Country 6. Belarus. Belarus, a country often overlooked by travelers, has become a point of concern for Americans. The U.S. Department of State has issued a Level 4 Do Not Travel advisory, citing arbitrary enforcement of local laws, the risk of detention, and the country's facilitation of Russia's war against Ukraine. Belarus does not recognize dual nationality, and authorities may refuse to acknowledge dual U.S. Belarusian nationals' U.S. citizenship, denying or delaying consular assistance. The political climate in Belarus has led to strained relations with the United States, making it a risky destination for American travelers. Country 7. Myanmar. You won't find this in the glossy travel brochures, but in 2025, stepping foot in Myanmar as an American is like walking into a powder keg with a tourist visa. Once known for its golden pagodas and serene landscapes, the country has now turned into a political war zone where foreign passports, especially blue ones with a bald eagle, raise more suspicion than admiration. The U.S. Department of State didn't mince words. Level 4, Do Not Travel. Why? Ongoing armed conflict, mass arrests, civil unrest, and a military regime that doesn't exactly roll out red carpets for Westerners. Let's just say, if your idea of a vacation includes checkpoints, surveillance, and the looming fear of wrongful detention, then Myanmar's got you covered. The 2021 military coup sent the country spiraling into chaos, and that chaos hasn't just simmered, it's boiling. American tourists are now caught in the crossfire, sometimes quite literally. With no functioning U.S. embassy to back you up, you're more or less on your own if things go south, which they often do. Reports from Amnesty International and UN agencies confirm a surge in civilian arrests, and foreigners aren't immune to the crackdown. Suspicion runs high, and even a simple conversation with a local can be misinterpreted as espionage. So unless you're Indiana Jones with a backup plan, maybe put that Yangon itinerary on hold. Because in Myanmar, being an American in 2025 isn't adventurous, it's dangerous. Country 8. Afghanistan. In 2025, booking a trip to Afghanistan as an American is less about adventure and more about flirting with danger. Sure, it has majestic mountains, ancient history, and poetic mystique. But let's be honest, even Indiana Jones wouldn't pack his fedora for Kabul right now. The U.S. Department of State has slammed a big red Level 4 Do Not Travel stamp on it, and not without reason. We're talking armed insurgencies, bombings, widespread crime, a skyrocketing risk of kidnapping, and virtually zero healthcare infrastructure if something goes wrong. Oh, and let's not forget, there's no functioning U.S. embassy left to call if you find yourself in trouble. It's like going to a concert with no security, no exits, and the band is playing live ammunition. Since the Taliban's return to power in 2021, the ground reality has only worsened. The rules are unpredictable, the politics are volatile, and if you're carrying a US passport, your mere presence can be interpreted as hostile, regardless of how peaceful your intentions are. Add to that a crippled economy, lawlessness in several provinces, and armed groups who see foreigners as bargaining chips. And suddenly, that cultural curiosity becomes a high-stakes gamble. It's not just risky, it's reckless. So unless you're running a humanitarian mission with full security detail and nerves of steel, this is one stamp you might want to skip collecting, for now. And don't worry, the ancient ruins will still be there, hopefully. Country 9, Haiti. Once upon a time, Haiti was that tropical gem where American tourists could sip rum under the sun without a care in the world. But fast forward to 2025, and even the cruise ships are turning around. When Royal Caribbean pulls its ships from Labadi, a resort it literally owns, you know things are serious. The US Department of State has slapped Haiti with a Level 4 Do Not Travel advisory, warning Americans about skyrocketing rates of kidnapping, gang violence, and a total collapse of healthcare infrastructure. And unlike a movie where the hero escapes just in time, in Haiti, even aid workers are being abducted. It's less Caribbean paradise and more don't step off the plane. The country is in the grip of lawlessness. Armed gangs reportedly control over 80% of the capital, Port-au-Prince, and are now dictating who comes in and who doesn't. The assassination of President Jovenel Moïse in 2021 left a power vacuum that never really got filled. And that chaos has trickled into every corner of public life, from hospitals to highways. Even the police force is under-equipped and overwhelmed. For Americans, being caught in the wrong neighborhood could mean being held for ransom, or worse. So unless you have a death wish disguised as a beach vacation, Haiti in 2025 is a destination better admired from afar. It begs the question, how did a land so rich in history and spirit fall into such darkness? And more importantly, when will the sun rise again? Country 10, Burkina Faso. Tourists used to visit Burkina Faso for its vibrant culture and untouched beauty. But in 2025, traveling there with a US passport might feel less like an adventure and more like walking blindfolded through a war zone. The US Department of State has issued a Level 4 Do Not Travel advisory for Burkina Faso, citing terrorism, crime, and kidnapping as the main culprits. And these aren't just hypothetical risks. The country has been facing one of the worst surges in extremist violence in West Africa, with terror groups linked to Al-Qaeda and ISIS tightening their grip over entire regions. Some areas have become literal no-go zones, even for locals. The situation is so dire that the government declared a state of emergency in multiple provinces, and international aid agencies have begun pulling out their personnel. If that doesn't make your travel nerves tingle, consider this. In 2024 alone, hundreds of civilians were killed in coordinated attacks, and foreign nationals, including aid workers and journalists, have been targeted for abduction. The US Embassy operates under extreme limitations, offering almost no ability to assist if something goes wrong. So if your dream trip involves dodging IEDs instead of dodging coconuts on a beach, Burkina Faso might be your pick. But for the rest of us, maybe just bookmark this one for a safer future. After all, even the most curious traveler has to ask, is the thrill worth the threat? As we've seen, the world is no longer the open playground it once was for American tourists. From the troubled streets of Haiti to the conflict-ridden provinces of Burkina Faso, the rules of global travel are shifting, and fast. These 10 countries, once filled with vibrant culture, natural beauty, and warm welcomes, now carry a far more complex warning. Travel here could cost you more than money. It could cost you your freedom, your safety, or worse. But this isn't just a story of fear. It's a wake-up call to stay informed, to understand the deeper reasons behind these changes, and to appreciate how geopolitics, diplomacy, and local realities shape the way we move across borders. At Discovering the Earth, our mission is to go beyond the headlines, to bring you real stories, backed by facts, official advisories, and voices on the ground. If this video helped you see the world in a new light, consider subscribing to join our growing community of curious, thoughtful global citizens. Don't forget to like the video, share it with fellow travelers, and let us know in the comments. Were you surprised by any of these countries? Or have you ever visited a place before it became a danger zone? The world is changing. Let's explore it together, one truth at a time.